What is going on, everybody? You're McLaren Speed Shop World Champion coming at you with the in-depth kind of breakdown of Purple Luffy and how we are going to defeat them. This one, I just got a couple builds, just my recent ones, but I'll go into detail of other builds that are even more successful against Purple Luffy than my own. But I'll get to that all in a second. And overall, the game plan and stuff against Purple Luffy, the good news is it is very simple and straightforward. The bad news is why this matchup is so tough is it's just hard to be able to implicate it and to make sure you're able to reach the conditions you need to win. But yeah, not a whole lot of stuff to get into, so let's just jump right into it. Alright, so Purple Luffy, for anyone that is new, how their deck works is they want to ramp up, crazy ramp up, so they can ideally drop big hitters way earlier than they're supposed to. And that's how they beat you, is they can just get out so many higher cost cards way quicker, and there's not really anyone that can kind of handle that, any deck setup, if they're able to hit it perfectly. And that's why it's very, very tough. And why they're tougher for us is because we're not built to withstand, especially the Kaido, we're not built to withstand that. We have no defense, so we're not built to withstand too many attacks from high down characters. And the reason why Kaido is so strong against us is because not only does Kaido blow up a 6k or less character, Kaido also has Rush. And Rush is a weakness for removal decks, which we are. So that card, Kaido's just a perfect card against us. And yeah, but what Purple Luffy wants to do, regardless, is they take a life to ramp up, and sort of the double-edged sword for them is them ramping up. They then need to be able to connect with their bigger cards, and because if they aren't able to, they're going to be low on life at the end of this. Regardless, minimum they'd be at 2 and so on. But overall, their deck build, the example I grabbed, I feel it's just a standard one, but also the key cards that not in the deck build anymore, I feel but some run Magellan and some don't. Magellan against us is pretty strong, but Magellan against some of the other decks, because overall RP Law isn't played a whole lot, so Purple Luffy players don't really have to worry about, they get really, it's chances are very low that they're going to be playing an RP Law, since Purple Luffy is one of the more popular decks. But Magellan is the card you kind of have to watch out for. If your opponent does have Magellan as Purple Luffy, you have to bottom deck Magellan, because we cannot take their ability. The -1 when they drop is fine, but Magellan's other ability is when Magellan's KO'd is -2. We can't take that. So you have to. That's why Magellan is a problem card in this matchup. You have to drop that. But more recently, not that many people running Magellan, just because it doesn't really do too much in some of the other matchups as strongly as the other cards that people run. The other big one is Polly. So Polly, they drop the turn prior. If they get it before, they would drop Kaido, and Polly lets them rest 2 down, KO one of our characters pretty much, and that's their other play. So they can kind of do removal and stuff. Besides that, though, they're pretty much just set up around wanting to drop some blockers if they need to, multiple blockers, and then they have the 2k counter cards, which they have a decent amount of, and that's why they're so tough as well, is because they have so many 2k counter cards. They can kind of stall you out until they can drop Kaido, and then once they, depending on how the game flow goes, if you aren't set up for the Kaido drop, you're just gonna lose. And that's why it's a pretty tough matchup. But overall, though, Purple Luffy, how they play stuff, very straightforward. They just want to ramp up to Kaido, and how they get there, you may see some different other things that they may drop, a blocker or Polly, Magellan, that. And then early game stuff, they may try to hit ulti page 1. It's kind of they're only if they don't hit that, expect them to drop the blocker Law, just because they need to stall out, and they need to protect their life, basically, because they're taking their own life with their ability so they can ramp up. So they have to protect themselves from as many hits as possible, because if they take too many hits, then 1, it means they can't ramp up, and then 2, even if they do, then they could be literally down to 1 or 0, which is a problem for them. But yeah, overall, Purple Luffy, very straightforward how they operate. And so that makes our game plan against them pretty straightforward. But again, it is just very, very hard to do. And let's jump into that. Alright, so the game plan against Purple Luffy and what you need to do is you have to keep your life at 2 minimum. Because when they drop Kaido is like even if you have a blocker on the field, the blocker's gone, Kaido is hitting you. Like straight up, 10k on 5. You're not going to have it in hand to be able to block out of that unless you have like a rad beam and a 2k counter. But even so with that, that's like a decent amount of resources to be able to get and need to use. So you have to keep your life at 2 minimum for the end game. Do not be afraid, again, to prioritize like the early life protection. If you get the blockers out, or just using cards in hand to counter out from them attacking your life early. Like, if it helps, pretend you're just at 3 life. When they drop Kaido, Kaido is hitting you. So if it helps you with that, just try to visualize that you're already there. That helps me a little bit earlier. But the biggest thing I feel like is just like you need to take the risk of countering out early, especially if they attack you with leader just with 5k, like 5 on 5. Early game, you can take the first hit, and then the second one, if they do it again, that's where judgment call is. So to be at 3 life or go down. Obviously if your hand is like very, very bad, take it. But if your hand is like pretty solid and you feel like decent about it, definitely block out, because again, the more life you keep at, the longer you can go. Because we just need to get them. They drop Kaido, they're gonna hit you, and then after that, they're gonna be lower on Don, and they should be at that point at minimum life, like either at 0 or at like 1 life. And if you're able to survive the Kaido drop and stuff, you can normally beat them, if not the following turn. So that's what we're playing for, is to survive them dropping Kaido, hitting us, and then you have like the 1 life and for potential like whatever else they have on the board to kind of block out of and go from there. But yeah, you need to. Why this is tough though, again, compared to the other matchups, this is like the exact opposite. In the other matchups were all about like needing to go like wide with the characters on the board, protecting the characters on the board. Like NL, we want them to hit our life down as low as possible, like as quickly as possible. This one is the exact opposite, and that's why it is, I feel like, a tougher matchup, because you have to play so much differently than what we're used to. And being able to, and that's also why it's tough, because with RP Law, why it's one of the tougher decks and everything, is just because we have to play against these top decks like pretty differently, and you can't really get into what I feel like is like the muscle memory of when you're just kind of like in sequence and stuff. You have to like actively like remember that you need to play each of these decks differently, because it's easy to get stuck playing the same way. And then, but if you do the same thing against, try to play the same way you do against NL, against like Purple Luffy, you're gonna lose, because we literally can't survive what their sort of end game stuff is compared to like vice versa, because you at least get to like the rush on Kaido is killer. But yeah, prioritize like keeping your life at 2. Just straight up what you need to do to be able to make this work. Blockers are huge in this, especially Kid and Queen. Because again, if they're using the rest of their Don to drop their bigger characters, that means their leader may only be swinging for 5k. So if you have a 6k blocker, you're chilling. But also though too, just kind of any blocker having up for the end game for Kaido is basically, the more blockers you have out, the better. Just because Kaido's going to blow one of them up, and then if you have another one, depending on your situation, you're able to just block if you need to, or you can keep them just as like the actual little protection. Alright, and then what I meant in the beginning of the video of like other deck builds and stuff that are better. 3 cost characters against Purple Luffy are super strong. They're insanely strong. So exact opposite of how we like approach Sakazuki with the Rush Zoro. So if you get Rush Zoro early, you don't want to attack Sakazuki. However, in this matchup, you get Rush Zoro early and drop him, you want to attack right away, because him being rested is now a threat to them, and they have to attack your character. And them attacking like your characters is like keeping your life up, which is big, because again, we have to play defensively in this matchup, and you don't super need a whole lot of characters on the board. That's like the other thing. So any of your 3 costs, especially if they have like the when attacking abilities, even like Beppo in this matchup's big too, because we're not playing removal, so you don't have to worry about your 3 costs getting like removed right away. So if you run Search Law is massive. If you run Zorojuro, massive because you're getting the ability off. So any of the when attacking characters in this matchup is big, and just being able to get a couple characters set up as quickly as possible is big too. Like the 3-4 strat for me is very successful in this matchup because we don't need to get 5 characters on the board in this matchup. You honestly need, I'd say 3. If you can get minimum 2, 3 is what like kind of the sweet spot, because being able to then, since we need to play defensively, that allows you to then use the other characters and cards in your hand to play defensively, to counter out, to protect your life, and so on. And with that, though, too, that gives you extra Don to attack them more consistently for higher Don attacks. And why that is big, that's kind of my game plan against like RP, Luffy, and Whitebeard, is because since we need to attack them for like 6k minimum, you can't really flood out the board as easily because we can't do the consistent just attacks with like leader and stuff. So if you play Purple Luffy similar to that, where you get like 2 characters out, and then instead of like flooding out the board, you then are attacking like say turn 3. So depending on how things go, if you're going first or second, you may like going into turn 3 you have like 4 or 5 Don. Being able to attack consistently for like 6-7k on the Purple Luffy earlier in the game is massive, because 1, it'll burn out everything, all the counter from their hand, being able to do that. And 2, if they don't have counter in their hand, you're smacking their life down. And if you're able to hit their life down, that means they can't ramp up, and that means they are stuck playing normal. And if they can't ramp up, they're pretty powerless. Like you'll beat them. And 3 cost characters are a big key to that. However, while it's tricky, and I'll get into this stuff in probably like another video of like deck building, because 3 cost characters are obviously like weak to Sakazuki, because Sakazuki can for sure get rid of them. But in this matchup, 3 cost characters are very, very strong, just because of, again, allowing you to utilize the extra Don for like a Gordon, Otama, like whatever, or being able to attack for like the extra 6k, which is really, really big in this matchup, especially early on. So it's just kind of finding a balance that works for you. But also, if you don't run the 3 cost characters, it's still the same principles of how you want to play. You got to keep your life at 2, so it's not like the end of the world. And I'll show you guys in like gameplay, because with the Hollywood Law build I'm running, it's mostly 4s. So it's obviously Purple Luffy is a matchup that build isn't the best against, compared to like if you ran the 3 cost with like Zoros and like the Search Law. But overall, though, the idea is the same. It's just to be able to guarantee that, in my experience of stuff I've tried, 3 cost characters make it a lot more easier, just because, again, being able to attack consistently for like 6-7k with your couple characters on the board is just so much stronger than attacking just like 5k and then also needing to block out. So that is kind of like that. So let's break it all back down real quick. Alright, so the overall sort of notes and everything, again, have to prioritize life in this matchup. Try to keep it at 2 minimum for turn 4. Turn 5 when they drop Kaido, because again, you're losing 1 basically just off the rip there. Invest in making the defensive plays early. I know it probably feels like risky because it's like the unknown, because you don't know what's going to happen, but you kind of have to take the risk of sacrificing card in hand, 1k, whatever, blocking out of the 5k leader attack. You just got to trust in your deck, trust in the cards that you're kind of going to get, and trust in like your ability to be able to make the moves and the plays that you need to make. So that you just have to be able to kind of get used to doing that. It's super, super tough, because I feel like most people just in general, no matter what deck you're using, wants to save like until the end. But however, like taking the early risk when you know you can block something out versus at the end when you don't know. Like if at the end when it comes down to someone attacking for a lot, you don't really know if you're going to be able to block all of that out. Versus like if it gets to that point, regardless, if you have the extra life because you blocked out earlier, then it doesn't matter if they attack you for a lot, because you still take the hit. So that's why in this matchup it's very, very tricky and different, because you have to like take the early risks and see kind of what happens from there. But yeah, overall though, you want to get like 2-3 characters to the board and just kind of stay right around 3. If you're able to then, like, even if they attack one and KO one, if you're just able to slowly replace and keep it at 3, you'll be good. Because then you kind of get them stuck in a cycle where they need to attack your board, and that means they're not attacking your life. Because then if they're, once you show them that you're attacking them for like 7k a turn, that then completely changes their priorities of what they have to do. Like, then they have to attack your board, because if they don't, you're going to beat them very, very quickly. So that's kind of like the overall setup there. If you can get like 2-3 characters out, and if you can protect the board, like if you have the 2k counters like the Otama, or if like a Rad Beam, whatever, use that, especially early, because again, the more damage you can do that to them early in the game, the better, because then late game you make it. So if they drop Kaido and stuff, if you're able to survive that, then you should be able to beat them the next turn. And again, just being able to take the early life from them is massive, because we just nullify their ability. And so attacking them for higher Dawn, like you would against like RP Luffy or Whitebeard, like pretend they're at 6k if you need to, and just attack them for the 6k, and you should beat them fairly consistently, unless they get like their god hand. If you kind of do that, because it's not for them, they're not built to be able to withstand that sort of level of aggression. And if you're able to, again, it depends on your deck build and stuff. Obviously some deck builds are going to be favored and some are not, just depending on the characters and stuff. But in my experience, if I'm able to just keep 2-3 characters on the board, unless I'm able to go like super wide, like you can go wide if you have like what you kind of need, because again, multiple attacks is just as efficient. But for me, I feel like it's easier, at least to start with, just probably take like 2-3 characters on the board and then just slowly doing like cycling them out versus going for it. But it depends on your deck build, honestly. It doesn't matter how you get to the end. As long as you keep yourself at 2 life, if you can make it to the end there for when they drop Kaido, you should be okay. So yeah, that is, at least for me, again, very straightforward in this matchup. Like the game plan, like the good news is it's very simple. Bad news is just hard to implicate, because you have to play completely different than what you probably used to, what we would normally do against the other top like decks and stuff. But I mean, that's what makes, at least for me, why RP Law is like fun and interesting, because everything's different. Like I'm always having to like learn constantly different things, try different plays and stuff like that, adapt to different situations, because we have to just address playing like everybody so differently, especially the top decks currently. And for me, it's fun because it keeps everything fresh, because I'm not playing again like the same setup versus like other decks where I feel like your objective and goal to win is like the same against everybody. Where for us, we're about like taking away the setups, and for me, it's super fun and refreshing just overall. But yeah, that is keep things kind of simple, the overall game plan, and we'll jump into a couple games, and I'll try to show you guys what I mean by all this. All right, so here we go. This is going to be just like a more sort of the traditional Sanji type build. So we'll go show you guys what I mean and everything from there. So we got a decent setup, okay balance. We just don't have any, like we have the power reducer with Law, but we are going second here, and with Sanji feeling pretty risky, and I feel like you can take, this is a big risk, but I mean, why not? If you have it for the 2, play it for the 2, and we have plenty of cards and stuff here to kind of make a play, depending on how things go. Because at the very least, we can still like attack. You know, we don't have to. We can put just a regular dot on them from there, but they're dropping the ulti page 1 combo on us, attacking 5 on 5, and again, we take the early one. We have Fire Fist, which is big, so that'll help things out. We get another Sanji, which is actually huge, because now we can play super risky. So they got ulti. We don't have like a Gordo, so I'm going to drop the Film Law, and we'll drop it on ulti, because again, we need to get rid of somebody here. But always, also, yeah, attack first, just to see what happens, and see if we can get anything. And luckily, we hit them, which is absolutely massive. So they're already down to 3 life, which is big. So we drop that. And since we have the boys, we can go 1, 2, 3. Bring in the boys here. Now we're sitting there. Now this is where we get risky. We're going for Sanji. 7 on 5. So now they're in an insane spot where they take another hit. So it's the beginning of turn 3. We already got them down to 2 life. And they're sitting only at 5 Don. And now we already let off with the Sanji hit. So now they have to attack Sanji because it's like in their head that we're playing very, very aggressive. So now they have to waste. Yeah, so they have to attack somebody on Sanji, which is fine because Sanji now blocks for us. And then they have page 1. So if they attack page 1 just with the 6, all right, well they're attacking with 7, which but luckily we have the 2, and we don't need Zoro now, so we can block out because again we're just kind of sitting here, and they're hitting. All right, they're hitting the ulti page 1 again, which is kind of crazy wild because. That leads to me to think that they don't really have everything they need, really. So we're sitting with the 5. And a couple different things we can do here based on our hand and stuff. Because if we can KO the page 1 that's rested, just straight up like regular, then we can use the Fire Fist for someone else to get out. So that's kind of the thought process there. And we don't super need to worry about too much, so we'll attack 6 on 6. See what happens. Alright, they block out. So now, they'll leave us with 4. So ideally, we have 2 more to mess around with. We will try this again. Another 6 on 6. Alright, so we get that one, which is big. Because now, that leaves us with 3, so that's 1 more. And we can for sure get rid of that page 1. So now I can attack them 6 on 5. And we take another life. So we're looking pretty decent right now. Able to drop the Fire Fist now, and we can go 1, 2, 3. Get page 1 out. Since we have 2, we have another copy of the boys there, so we're back to 4. So now things are looking good, feeling pretty decent. Because we got them to 1 life. They only have 2 characters to attack with, and based on how they can't ramp up, so they're only sitting at the 6. And so that's super, super great because with them only being at the 6 means they're not dropping Kaido. So we've already taken away their main like win condition from them. And we're still sitting at the crucial 2 life. So we'll see. They have 7 cards in hand though, which is a problem. Just because they run so many 2K counters. That means we're kind of have to try to attack them in waves and stuff here. So I'm going to block out of this just to make sure they use ulti. And they're sitting at 6. So we do that. Trying to think what all they got for 6. All right, they play Kid and they leave 1, so that means they probably have a counter then. So we're at 6, and again, best to just attack with as much as we can. So with having 6, we have stuff to go into if I need to, but we'll attack them first. Just see kind of how they play this. As we can kind of go from there, because then I can attack some 7s. So they block and do that. Alright. And now, interesting spot, because we have 2 things. If we can clear their field, then we're looking great. If we can't, then obviously not the best. But we could attack again, just 6 on 6 on Kid to see what they do. Or pretty much either of them. They have 1 active Don, so that leads me to believe that they do have a counter. Because I think there's a couple counters that they run. So we'll attack them 7 on 5. So we're either to draw. Okay, they don't use the counter there. That was to either draw it out, because again now I can attack again. And playing things safe, because it doesn't super matter like which we attack here. Unless they're just bluffing with the 1. So if they are bluffing, we'll attack Kid, because if we get rid of Kid, then we're pretty much guaranteed to win. So we'll see what happens. So 7 on 6. Alright, so they do have a counter there. They have the Blast Breath. So good to get that out of the way, because again, that's -1 Don for them as well. And then I'll minus down 3. We're bringing Beppo just for because he's got the win attacking. But obviously, though, too, Ain probably, I don't know. Ain could be a better play just because Beppo's got the counter to keep something up, but we'll see. We've done a great job so far limiting their ability to ramp all the way up by attacking again for higher than just 5Ks to really put them in a spot where they then need like multiple 2Ks to be able to withstand this stuff. So we'll see how it goes here. So they're at 7 limit options there, so they drop Kid. All right, so they minus the 1. They get 1 back with the, because the blocker Kid, they're attacking 7 and 5. Obviously, we gotta take that, and then we kind of go from there. We're still sitting okay because again, the rules in this matchup, if we're able to stay right around 2 to 3 characters on the board, we're chilling. And since we're floating around again in our optimal Don operating range, so they're at 6, which is again fine because we have the Don and how we're playing this. So 7 on 6. See what happens. Because either way we get info. They only have 4 cards in hand. They have a blocker, and so that means they don't have the counter in hand, more than likely. So we'll kind of do this. Is at the very least we'll force them. So they take their last life, which is big. All right, and then we attack them again, 7 on 6. So they sack 2-1, 1Ks to get out. Then since I'm at 7, we have Ain who has no counter. There's not really any purpose to not do this, I feel like, at this point. Because again, I feel like the cycle that I was talking about is like this. Because now we're at the spot where if they attack, we'll still have the 2 kids. We'll still have Ain and our leader going into the next thing. So they're at 9. So that means they're going to drop Kaido. But if they drop Kaido, then they have to go for it. And I have 2 life and we have the Otama. So if they drop Kaido for 9, that means they aren't able to do attack. So we're chilling. Kind of regardless. So they're leading 5 on 5. So ideally here, have to take out, you have to block out what you know you can block out. So now they're attacking with Kid. So they do that. Because I think they're just trying to catch us off guard to hit us with a surprise attack with Kaido. Because it would have been better if they did Kaido first and then, I don't know why they're doing that. All right, well that's why. Because they had nothing, they had nothing left. But yeah, pretty much that's why you need to keep yourself at the 2 is Kaido drop, and Kaido is getting hitting you for sure, unless you just have an insane wall of blockers set up. But that's the only other way. If you would need minimum 2 blockers out if you were letting them hit your life down. But yeah, that's pretty much how you kind of want to play it though. Again, being able to attack them consistently for higher than 5Ks. Either if you have the stuff to float out the board, go for it. But if you don't, keeping that 2-3 characters on the board and using what's in your hand to play defense is, for me, I feel the more consistent game plan. And yeah, it's just so you can limit them. Again, we just need to burn through the counter in the hand because then that means they have no defense. And since they need to ramp up, if you're able to get through their defense and then hit them for their life, that means they're not ramping up. That means they're not getting their advantage, and effectively their leader ability isn't useless, and they're just kind of a vanilla leader. If you're able to kind of counteract that, but again, it is tough to get used to playing like this because it's way different than what you're used to. Alrighty, here we go. It's purple Luffy action. Diving in, going second. We got a decent setup, so I can drop Gordon turn 1. So again, we don't have to worry about shenanigans. Ooh, okay, we got a beautiful play. Well, let me drop our search. What should we grab here? Yes, I'll grab Ain. So we can do that, and then I'll throw down Gordon as well. So yeah, pretty good setup. We have Ain, so I'm straight up gonna go Ain to Ace then, and then we're just gonna go from there. See how that plays out. So they're throwing all of them on. They didn't even ramp. Interesting play. A bit unexpected, not gonna lie. So let's just attack them 5 on 5, see what they do. Alright, they block out, which is fine. We'll drop Ain. And now we're set up for next turn. Like whatever they drop, I get to drop ace and it's gone. So 5 on 5. We'll block out of this. Just for, again, you want to prioritize your life. And since I don't really have too much to worry about right now, I'm kind of okay with doing all that. So we'll just attack 5 on 5. Then I'll attack him again 5 on 5. Alright, and now we drop ace. Drop that down. Then we'll go 1, 2, 3. Get this out of here and bring in... Have 4. Who should I bring in? Probably just blocker law. Even though, I mean, we probably could have did Zoro attack. I didn't really think about counting where they'd be at card-wise. They ramp, grab Kaido. Okay. We're fine with that. And then 10 on 5. That's okay. And then 5 on 5. We can let that one hit. Ooh, okay, we get Kid. What do we do here then? Because I could use Gordo, get him down to 7. And if I then stack everything on ace, we get this guy just out of here. If I then left 1 for a rad beam, I could still bring in. Okay. You know what? Why not? We'll go crazy with it. So 12 on 7. See what they do. Because I have a rad beam to protect from any potential shenanigans. All right. Well, that's unfortunate, but not the end. It's not gonna attack them 5 on 5. So they black out of that. Where am I at? 6. So I go down to 3. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Bring in the boys that get us there. All right. So if they attack 10 on 7, we have Rad Beam to keep Ace up. Fortunately, we can't try our shenanigans again. But we'll see. I have Rad Beam and Otama to go for some stuff here. So works out there, which is pretty nice. And now they're at 6, so 6 on 5. Gonna do that. Block out of that. All right. Dang, we got Zoro. Okay, sick. Let's just try this. We'll see how this goes. So get him to burn 1. Lead off Ace 7 on 6. Okay, burn that. Because then I could drop Kid and then do a big attack, but what would that do? A couple 6s? That could work. Or do I want to just go for it with the Zoros? That'd be the game though if we do that. We'll just see what happens here. Oh yeah, they block out of that. So I have 2 life. Drop Kid, bring in Zoro, attack him again, and then we'll go for. So we'll do this. Go 1, 2, 3. Or do I want to go next turn? Make sure I can block. Because I only have 1. Where they at? This. Yeah, let's do that. Play it safe. I should have redid things, but just to make sure. And then, because next turn I'll have a bunch of stuff. They play the Queen blocker. Okay. So we'll see. This is pretty much it. So 10 on 7. Block this. Use the card action. Bang. Rest their queen. Resolve the attack. And then 10 on 7.
I probably, where are they at? They're at 7. So I can't really do anything here. So we gotta do that. Because he's at 6 and then at 7. So not much we can do, but it still is manageable. Because again, we got rid of their blocker. So he's at 6. How do we want to go about this? We will... Pretty much just got to go for it all. So then drop a Zoro. So yeah, we just gotta see what we can do. Cause it's not super over. Okay, so there goes 1, which is fine. So now I'll drop Zoro. Attack him again. Okay. So I gotta get some there. Can I survive a turn is the question. So deploy this. This on them. Go 1, 2, 3. Go to that to bring in Zoro here. Do this. 6 on 6. Okay, so we get him down to 1. Probably can't go for the game. We have 2 life. All right, we'll see what happens. This has been a wild and wacky game, not gonna lie. So what is this? Okay, so they went. Okay. 8 on 5. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So I mean, if they don't have a blocker, we're chilling. Yeah. Okay. 10 on 5. Yeah, I'm okay with all of this. So just to help our chances, let's just launch a 6 on 6. And then see what they do. Alright, and then throw all these on him. We'll attack 11 on 6. Alright, there we go. So there's Purple Luffy. Obviously a very kind of different game, not gonna lie, but going like longer games. But again, that's like how you can survive against Luffy. Prioritize your life when you can, especially early game. It's like exact opposite against NL, where NL you want them to hit your life and drain it as fast as possible. Purple Luffy, we got to play the opposite, because when they drop Kaido, just like straight up basically expect Kaido's coming and you're already down to life. So that's why like you need to stay at minimum 2. And again, you might just, it's where it's like tough is because you need to take the chances early game against Purple Luffy to protect your life, and you don't know like how things are gonna go. Because I feel like that's a big thing a lot of people don't do, is they'll wait till like the last minute because they just want to like get the cards in their life and then make sure they have as many options as possible. But against Purple Luffy, since they're able to ramp up and drop Kaido so quick, if you let them get their early life, they drop Kaido, you're going to lose a character when based on Kaido's ability, and then they rush, and then you're losing a life. So you lose a character and a life. So that's why you just have to take the risk in my early game, like I did when we could, when they only attack like the 5k. It's fine to take 1, I feel like in the beginning, maybe 2. Like depending on your hand setup, if you've got like a defensive hand, you could take 2, but then you need to stay at the 2 because Kaido is going to take 1 off you when they drop it. And yeah, so it was a like very good game though. Obviously, just things kind of worked out for us with the setup. We did the A into Ace, got Ace out. It would have been sick if we would have got Kaido out with our play there, but it didn't work out. But we still got them to drain key cards in their hand that they wouldn't have had when we went through the game there. And then, yeah, depending on the situation to against them, you just want to just be relentless. I like using Law's ability in this matchup kind of as much as you can. Like if you have the ramp up early game, and then you go crazy, you get characters on the board, just pop them relentlessly to drain them from stuff in their hand. Because again, similar to like NL, their key cards, they're like heavy hitters, don't have counter. And so like straight up, when you go for it, we just need to blast them down out of their counter too, because that's their defense and like their blockers and stuff. So being able to do that is pretty key. And then also too, I love Uta because as you saw, Uta kind of clutches the game. Being able to rest Queen there and being able to play like differently and then get rid of Queen at the end versus like Queen at the beginning to like reveal her hand with the Zoros and stuff. But yeah, a little bit different game. Again, you want to, in this matchup, you need to be just defense minded. Protect your life. This is the key. You need to stay at 2. Just minimum 2. Just imagine you're starting the game at 3 life, if that helps. Like, when they drop Kaido, that's automatically a life gone. So you don't want to be too low for them to do that, because then if you don't have blockers set up, they'll be able to get their Don and stuff back pretty quickly and launch like the following turn. They'll still have Kaido on the field, and they'll be able to just stack down on their leader. So you want to be able to avoid that, but also too, blockers. This is just a defensive matchup. If you're able to get blockers out, you'll do fine as well. More blockers the better, because again, Kaido can only take out 1 card, and we're used to losing characters and stuff. Obviously, this is a little bit different because they're 10k versus like Sakazuki, who isn't going to be attacking us with someone that strong, or being able to get them that fast. But yeah, as long as you maintain your life priority, you can beat Purple Luffy if, yeah, depending on how things go. But yeah, there we go.